Hello and welcome to HomeStrung Jewelry. This is Debbie.
And this is Steve over here, just another pretty pair of hands.
We're here today to do a tutorial on the spiral weave necklace where you can add embellishments right into your spiral weave. To start off with, I want to show you a few examples of this technique where I have made some necklaces. The first one here came from the African bloodstone box that everybody received about the first of the month. It has that beautiful shell pendant leaf or feather in there. It has the flowers and the black rondelles. The clasp is one that I just pulled from my stash. I believe it was a clasp that was included in the Halloween box though. And then seed beads are something we have not included in our boxes as of yet, but you just need two colors of a size 11 that you want to pair with your pendant and your embellishments. The first one here was made with size 11 seed beads. The next one over here, also from the African bloodstone box, shows the African bloodstone pendant, some of the 8mm rounds, those half-plated black on red crystal rondelles, and the little daisy spacers. This one uses a size 8 seed bead in two colors. The core bead is a really deep dark blood red, and then the spiral outer beads are done in a matte finished kind of a silver gray type bead. And just to show you the difference, I'll hold them up close enough if I can so you see the size difference. So the one there on the right, this one is the one that was made from the size 8 seed beads, and this one is the one that was made from the size 11 seed beads. I'm just going to move them off for right now.
Yeah, I believe the clasp on that came from the box too.
Yes,
the magnetic clasp.
The one that was made from the 8mm seed beads, this one right here, this clasp came from the African bloodstone box.
Of course, any clasp would probably work.
This one is one I made, maybe 10, 12 years ago when we were teaching classes in our studio. It has a rhodonite pendant, some rhodonite rounds, some black rondelles, and it just uses a pink and a really, really dark gray size 11 seed bead for the core beads. But it can show you a different layout of the embellishments that were added into this necklace.
Yeah, the pendant stone on that's drilled from side to side, which is a little different.
Oh, all of these are either front to back or side to side. So.
And saying that, the next one's the same way.
Yes,
so.
This one too.
Oh, gosh.
This one used the pendant as a piece of carnelian that I have. I interspersed the embellishments with some crystal bicones in that fire opal color. The outer bead is just a white luster, and the core beads, I mixed it up with a yellow, orange, red combination, just alternating and repeating that color pattern into that necklace. So that shows you another variation. And this is one that I put together last night because I wanted to make sure I'd be able to do the weave for this tutorial without too many hitches on it. So I've not added the clasps to it yet, but I chose a piece of, this is dyed magnesite. It's been dyed to resemble turquoise beads, both the pendant and the little 6mm rounds. I added a couple of Swarovski bicones in the blue zircon on each side of the round to be the embellishments. Again, this is going to be the pattern and the technique that we're going to be doing today in today's video.
Now, if you've never done a spiral weave, or if you're just not confident, I'm going to put a little link up here in the corner where you can go to another video that we have which talks about the two different ways to do a spiral weave. And I'll also put a link down in the description.
We also are going to put a set of kits for all of these necklaces that I showed you up on our website. So if you just want to buy the kit from these necklaces you just saw, plus there's a couple of others that'll be up there. There's a Cambaba Jasper version that's done in greens. There's a black and white agate version. So go to, I'm
We'll
sure,
put a link.
yes, Steve will put a link there. So anyway, we will make these kits available to you at a discounted sale price for a limited amount of time after this video is released. But on to today's project, which is going to be a variation of that very first necklace I showed you, this one right here. But let me show you how we're going to do it. First of all, the pendant comes from the African Bloodstone set. I'm going to use a moon pendant for this one. I'm using 6mm rounds that was in that African Bloodstone box. For part of the embellishment.
Now, are those African Bloodstone beads?
Yeah, these are 6mm African Bloodstone rounds that were in the box. And I'm going to pair them with one on each side with those beautiful deep red crystal faceted triangles that were also in the box. I will also be using the clasp from the box. It looks a lot like the other one.
It is.
That magnetic clasp. I will use 6-pound Fireline in the white crystal color. I will be using my Big Eye needle, which I used in yesterday's video and is right there. I have a pair of scissors, cutters right here. And the 2 colors of seed beads that we'll be using for this project are the white pearl. They're hard to see in that white thing. Maybe I'll go ahead and dump them out. There we go. So this is a white pearl, size 11, and that's going to be the core color. For the color of the spirals or the outer beads, I'm using a really deep, almost garnet, ruby, deep red that will be for the spiral outer type colors. So if you give me just a minute, I'll get my needle threaded and we'll be ready to start the video. All right, so I'm ready to get started on this project. I have my needle threaded with roughly 48 inches of thread here, and we're going to start by picking up, I'm going to tell you a little trick here. If you notice, I have a lot fewer of the white beads over here than I do of the red ones. I'm going to dump some of those out. You need to do 75 units on this first section before we add the first embellishment. And one of the tips that I'll give you is I have counted out 75 plus 3 core beads. And that's what I have right here. There are a total of 78. You pick up 4 core beads to begin with, and then from the first set on, you'll only be picking 1 up. Doesn't matter how many beads I've got over here, I'm just going to pick up 3. But when I run out of my 78 beads that I have over here, I know I've done all the units I need to do for that section. I'll be ready to add my embellishments. I don't have to worry about measuring or going back to try to count how many units I've put in. I just have to have the same number of core beads as the number of units that I want in my project, plus 3 because of the way we start.
Good tip.
All right, so we're going to pick up 4 of the core beads, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 of our outer or spiral beads. We're going to move them down the thread. We're going to leave a good 6-inch tail on here, and then I'm needling back up through the 4 core beads, not the 3 outer beads, just the 4 core beads. I'm going to pull my thread, pull it nice and tight, and what happens is those 3 red beads that are part of the spiral outer beads, they fold over and lay next to the 4 core beads. Now I'm going to just pick up units of 1 core bead, 3 outer beads or spiral beads. I'm keeping them on my needle. I'm coming back here and I'm going up through the 3 most recent core beads. So I'll be skipping that first one going up through these 4.
3.
3, going up through those 3. See, that's what Steve's here for. He's here to make sure I don't make mistakes, or I correct them when I do. Pull it tight. Move those outer beads or spiral beads so they lay next to each other. Needle back through the 1 core bead that we just added, and it's now at the top, just to help bring it in line with those other. So we have 2 sets of the spirals. We're ready to pick up another set or another unit. 1 core bead, 3 of the spiral or outer beads. Count down 3 from the top here. 1, 2, 3. And needle up through those 3 beads. Pull it nice and tight. I use my thumb to rotate those spiral beads so they're laying next to each other. And it's going to turn and flip on you as you build this spiral. You can already see how those 3 rows of outer beads are starting to a slight spiral around the set of cords. Now I have to needle up through that core bead that I just added. And we're ready to do the next unit. Pick up a core bead, pick up 3 spiral or outer beads, count down 3 from the top, 1, 2, 3, and needle up through, well, I've got those pretty tight. I like to keep my work really tight. The disadvantage of that is sometimes it's hard to get the needle in where I want it to go. I want it to go right in there. There. So up through those 3 beads, pull it around tight. Move the 3 that you just added. I'm moving all of those to the left. You want to be really consistent. If you start moving them to the right instead of to the left every single time, it will show, it will look funky, you won't like it. So just be sure that you're moving those 3 beads, colored beads, to the left. And then needle back through the top core bead that you added so that you're back in line. So I'm just going to continue this until I have used up every one of my core beads in this little pile. It should come very close to being 4.5 inches. It's been consistently that in all the necklaces that I've made. So if you measured out 78 beads of the core beads and you just keep going until they're all gone, then measure your section of spiral and it should be approximately 4.5 inches. And I'll be back here to show you how to do the first embellishment as soon as I have my 75 sets on. All right, I'm back. I have done all but my last of the 75 units that I want to add to the spiral chain or rope that I'm making. And as I measured it, in fact, I'll bring it in here. It is just shy of the 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches is right here, so it's just about right there. So I saved this last one so I can show you the whole process for adding an embellishment. We're ready to put the first embellishment into our rope here. So you pick up the core bead, you pick up 3 of the spiral beads, you count down 3 from the top, pull the beads down into place, move them to the left, and needle through that bead. This is just the last of the 75 units. All right, so the way I add an embellishment so that I don't have to stop my spiral weave is I pick up what I'm going to put into an embellishment unit. In this case, I'm picking up one of the faceted triangles, one of the 6mm African bloodstone rounds, and I deliberately picked some dark colored ones because my pendant doesn't have too much of the the dark color in there, and I wanted a little bit of that contrast in there. And then on the other side of the 6mm round, I'm putting another of those triangle beads. So here's the embellishment unit that we're adding. I'm going to move them all the way down my thread until they lay right next to where my rope ended. Now, a lot of people might just continue on with the rope thing here. The problem that I felt was there's only one thread running through these embellishments. That's not secure enough. So the way I have handled this, and there may be other ways, but it's just the way I did it, was I'm going to bring out 4 of my core beads, pick them up, and 3 of the outer or spiral beads. This is the way we started our spiral weave. Okay, so there's that what would be considered your first unit. I'm moving them all the way down my thread until they're right next to that embellishment unit. Now I'm going to finish this just like I was starting again. I'm going to come up from the bottom through those 4 core beads again, pull my thread through, and it folds the 3 I've added. Now I'm moving them down, I'm pulling, I'm making sure it is really snug against that embellishment. Now I'm going to needle down through those 3 side beads, spiral beads that I just picked up. See if I can do that while I'm suspended up here in the air. Pull my thread all the way through. Okay, I needled down through the 3 side spiral beads, keeping my thread really tight, and now I'm going to needle back through all 3 of my embellishment beads here. Going back through the triangle, through the 6mm round, and through that triangle. Pull my thread through, pulling it really, really tight. Now I'm going to needle up through 4 of the core beads on this side. If you can get all 4 on your needle, go that way. Sometimes I have to do 2 and 2 or 3 and 1, but you want to get your needle up through the 4 core beads on that side. Then I'm going to come back down through the 3 spiral or side beads that are connected to that set of 4 core beads, or there'll be the ones closest to the embellishment. So I'm coming down through those 3, keeping my thread really tight. Now I'm going to needle back through the 3 embellishment beads, back through the triangle, the 6mm round, and the triangle bead. And again, pull my thread through, making it nice and tight. Then I'm needling up through the 4 core beads that are on this side of the embellishment. I'm going to go through these 3 and then through, trying to keep it in frame here, and then through the 4th one. This brings my needle back into position to continue my spiral weave. And I have gone through the set of the embellishment beads 3 times now to reinforce the embellishment. That should make it really nice and secure. The only secret is keeping it tight enough so you don't have any thread gaps showing through. Now I'm ready to just continue on. The next section of this necklace is going to have 20 units. We've already added 1 unit, and I've already got the extra 3 core beads on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count out just 19 core beads. 17, 18, 19, because I just want 20 units there. So when I run out of these core beads, I will have 20 units and be ready to add the next embellishment. So again, just the same as we've been doing, pick up one core bead, 3 of your spiral or outer beads, count down 3 from the top, and go up through those 3 beads, pull your thread through, move the core beads over so they're to the left, so they're against the other core or spiral beads. Go up through that last.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Just whipped that right out of my hand.
You've been working out.
Go up through that last core bead to anchor it. Now we're ready just to continue picking up these units. Again, I'll pause the video and be back when I have all 20 units on here. We have 2 on here right now, just 18 to go, and I'll be right back. I'm back, having completed the 20 units of this next section. I'm ready to add another set of embellishments. I have done all 20 units this time, and then I have counted out the set of core beads I will need for another 20 units after I've done this embellishment. So there's actually 23 beads, 20 units plus the 3 that I need for the start. So I'm going to add the embellishments by picking up one of the triangle beads, one of the 6mm round African bloodstone beads, and another of the crystal triangle beads. Putting them onto my needle, moving them all the way down so they're really tight, snug against my rope that I've done. Now I'm going to start with a new unit for what will be a 20 unit section of the spiral rope. So I will pick up 4 of the core beads, 3 of the spiral or outer beads. I set this down because I need to move these all the way down till they're right snug against my embellishments. Then I'm going to needle back up through those 4 core beads that I just picked up. Pull my needle nice and tight all the way around so that those 3 beads, now see, I'm not real snug, I have too much movement here in this, so I want to pull on these beads until there's no thread showing and they're nice and tight. Then I will needle down through the 3 spiral beads that I just picked up, pull my thread down till it's tight, and needle back through the 3 embellishment beads. So I'm back through the triangle. This puts me through the 6mm round, and then I'm through the triangle bead again. Pull my thread, again making sure that it's nice, tight, that I don't have any gaps showing in any of those embellishment units. I'm going to needle up through the 4 closest core beads on this side of the embellishment. This time I'm coming through 2 of them and then through the next 2, just so that I've come through 4 of them. Keeping my thread tight. Then I'm going to needle down through, I'm going to turn this just a little bit so it's easier for you to see. I'm going to needle down through that last set of the 3 spiral or outer beads that are just before the embellishment. Pull my thread nice and tight. Okay, so I've come down through those 3 beads. I'm ready to needle back through my 3 embellishment beads. Hold it really tight, making sure I don't have any gaps. Now I'm going to needle up through the 4 core beads that are on this side. There's 3, and there's the 4th one. Now I'm in position to continue adding units to the spiral weave, having gone through the embellishment 3 times, so that's been reinforced. So I will pause again. In fact, I'm going to do a 20 unit section, another embellishment, and a 20 unit section. And then I'll be ready to add my pendant, and I'll be back to show you how to do that. I'm back, and I have added the final 20 unit section of spiral rope for this side of the necklace, and we are ready to add our pendant in. Now I need to explain that there's a difference between this pendant I'll be adding in and several of the pendants that we showed you in the beginning. If your pendant bead is drilled side to side, as is the case with this one here, side to side, and the leaf that we had with the African bloodstone is drilled side to side. If that's the case, then you just add the pendant in the same way you would do the embellishments that we've done thus far. But if it has a bell on it, like in the case of the moon here, I'm going to add a couple of core beads so that this pendant will rest over them before I start the next section of spiral. So I'm going to pick up just 2 of my core beads, 2 of my white beads, put them here. Now I'm going to add my pendant in here, and then I'm going to treat this pendant just like it's an embellishment. I'm pulling it down and I'm looping that section of the bell over those beads I just added. So it's kind of resting over the top of those beads, creating what I might call a bridge. Now I'm going to count out 20 units for the next section of my spiral rope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, and then I have to add the 3 to start a new unit on this side of the pendant. So there's my 23 core beads. And to start this next side of my pendant, I will pick up 4 core beads, just like we've been doing all along, 3 of the spiral or outer beads. I will move them down next to the pendant. I'm going to count back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the core beads and go up through those 4, because the 2 that are here are supposed to be the bridge beads that are going to go underneath the bell. So here I've come up through the 4 core beads, pulling my nice and tight, and in this case I do want it really, really tight. And then see how that bell lays just real nice over what's going to be the bridge between these 2, but I need to reinforce that. So to reinforce, just like we did with the embellishments, we come down through the 3 outer spiral beads that we just picked up. I'm going to move my bell over so that I can get through the 2 core beads that we added to stay underneath this bell. And then I'm going to come up through the first 4 core beads on the other side, just like we did for the previous embellishments. So there I've got all 4. All right, the bell slipped off, but we're okay. I'm going to put my bell back in place. This bell has a really big hole, so I can just thread the beads that I added back onto there so that this bell is still fitting over those 2 new ones that we added. I'm going to keep a hold of this now so that doesn't happen again. So I'm going to rotate around to this side. I've come up through the 4 core beads on this side. I'm coming down through the 3 spiral or side beads. And then the 2 that I added for this bell, I'm just going to needle through those 2 as a way to reinforce them. There, got them. So now I've been through those 2 beads 3 times. They're reinforced. Ready to come up through the 4 core beads on this side. 3 of them. Here's the 4th one. And I'm ready to start doing my spiral weave now for the other side of the necklace. Now there's something very important here that you need to pay attention to. For the first side of the necklace, we pushed all of these outer beads, spiral beads, to the left, and they spiral down the one side. We want the opposite going up the other side so that it's a mirror image of the side. So in order to do that, we are now going to push all of those beads. The outer spiral beads will be now pushed to the right instead of to the left. So you'll pick up your core bead, your 3 outer or spiral beads, just like we've been doing. I've got them on my needle. I'm going to come up through the 3 core beads, that are at the top here. Pull my needle down, and now I'm going to push those outer beads to the right and then needle through that top core bead. Okay, so now they're going to spiral around the right side of my core beads. Pick up a core bead, 3 of the spiral beads, needle up through 3 of the core beads, pull on your thread, make sure that you're pushing the spiral beads to the right, and then needle back through that top core bead to pull it into line. And you're just going to continue doing exactly what you did on the first side of the necklace. Now we'll be doing it on the other side. So we've got 20 units, then we'll do an embellishment unit, 20 units of spiral, an embellishment unit, 20 units of spiral, the final embellishment unit, and then 75 units for the finishing section of the necklace. And as soon as I've gotten to that point, I will be back to show you how to add your clasp. And I'm back to show you how to attach the clasp to this necklace. So I have finished up my 75 units on the second side of my necklace here. And adding the clasp is pretty straightforward and basic. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick up the clasp. I am going to needle through one of the loops on the clasp, move it right down against my beading. Now the problem that I had the first time I tried to do this was I kept going through the core beads, which the 3rd and the 4th ones have 3 and 4 threads through them already. So in order to reinforce around the clasp here the way I wanted to, I have found another way of doing this. So I bring this in, bring it up right next to my beads, but instead of circling back and going back through the core beads, I'm going to go back through the very last 3 outer or spiral beads that I added. Pull my thread nice and tight. And then I'm going to move over to the second to the last beads and go up through those 3 beads.
That's the spiral beads.
Yeah, the spiral beads, the outer beads. This is because these beads have only had 1 thread go through them thus far. But now my needle is positioned a little bit lower on that clasp than I want, so I'm going to actually needle up through this top core bead because at this point in time it only has 2 threads going through it. So come up through the core bead, pull things nice and tight. Now I'm going to go through the loop on my clasp again. So now I'm 2 times through the clasp, and then I'm just going to repeat that 2 more times. So I'm coming down through the very last row of the 3 outer or spiral beads. I'm going to come back up through the next 3 spiral beads. Pull it nice and tight. Then I'm coming through that end core bead. Go through the loop on my clasp. This gives me 3 passes through the clasp. I'm going to do this one more time. So I'm coming, I have to keep moving it right to left because I'm right-handed. So I'm coming down through those last 3 spiral beads, pull it tight. Going to move up through the 3 that are second to the last. Going to come through the last core bead, so that puts me again right in position to come through this loop on my clasp. Now I can just finish this off, which the way I do it, and you can do whatever is, the most comfortable way that you prefer, is I'm going to come down through my 3 end core beads. I'm going to create a half hitch stitch at the base of those core beads. Pulling up a loop, needling through that loop and pulling tight. Then what I do is I come through the 2 closest core beads to where my needle is coming out. And like I said, I keep my stitching fairly tight, so sometimes it's a little hard for me to work the needle in between these beads. But I'm going to come down through 2 of the core beads. Then I'm just going to look for the closest set of spiral outer beads, come through those, needle down through those 3, and create another half hitch at the base. Pull up my loop, needle through the loop. So there's 2. I'm going to do it one more time. Come down through 2 of the core beads that are closest. Pick the 3 spiral beads that are close and tie my 3rd half hitch knot here. Pull up the loop, needle through the loop. And then right before I cut the thread, I want the end hidden into these core beads, so I'm going to come down through 3 or 4 of the core beads. I'm actually looking for one that might have a little bit of tightness to it, and I just found it. Okay, that one's a little bit tight, which should help lock that thread end in. Then I just cut that thread right off next to those beads. So what I'll do is I will thread my needle onto my 6-inch tail that was done way back at the beginning and repeat everything for this side of the clasp that I just showed you. And there we have it. Our clasp all added to the necklace. I'd have to pan out to show you the whole necklace.
Oh, there'll be pictures at the end.
And just as some general information, this necklace measures just over 19 inches, not counting the clasp. If you wanted to increase or decrease the length, you would add or subtract units to that first 75 and the last 75 that you put in. I measured, and my stitching shows that 17 units make up approximately 1 inch of the weave. So if I wanted a shorter necklace, I could decrease each side by 17 units and my necklace would be 2 inches shorter. We're going to put, as I mentioned at the beginning, we are going to put some kits up on the website at a discounted price for a limited time. The link to these kits will be in the description below this video. The kits are limited in number by the number of pendant stones that I happen to have available. The kits will include everything you need to make this version of the necklace except for needle, thread, and scissors. It will include a magnetic clasp. It will include Miyuki seed beads in the colors needed to complete these necklaces, the crystal beads and the gemstone round beads, and also the gemstone pendant. A list of materials and directions for assembling this necklace will be included with the kit, but there is no written tutorial. You'll need to come back and refer to this video for any specific instructions. Thank you for watching and supporting my attempts at making video tutorials. Hopefully I'll get better with experience. So this is Debbie saying goodbye, take care, and happy beading.